Namu Myoho Renge Kyo, Namu Myoho Renge Kyo, Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Welcome, everyone. Hi, friends. Thank you for liking and subscribing, expanding this Sangha. Slowly but surely, we keep finding more people curious about correct practice of Shakyamuni's teachings of the Lotus method for self-enlightenment, right? Self-realization. In that regard, today's video, I'm going to ask for a little help. I've decided to go ahead with a project I've mentioned a couple of times. I've renamed it so far. It's still a working title, but I had talked about putting together a book on, quote, basics. But, I don't know, that just doesn't sound right. And once I started delving into it more and more, I thought it's really more of a reference, a Buddhism reference. Not an encyclopedia, not that long-winded. I want to create a book that has these key terms that we constantly hear, and some of them grossly misunderstood through vast swaths of people, Buddhist and non-Buddhist, right? And the myriad traditions that call themselves Buddhism but are actually something else. And you know how I am about language, and getting these terms right is really important because the language is the only thing we have to guide us in our insights to self-enlightenment. And so if the language has stuck to it some charisma and some ideas that are not correct, or for instance, in Tibetan Buddhism, there's the Book of the Dead, and it's all about the bardos, right, of these, or in other Buddhisms, this 7 day times 7 day period after the passing away of a relative and all of that. Well, those aren't Buddhist. The bardos comes from Hinduism, and the 7 day thing is another leftover. And you could see why that occurred, because 2,700 years ago in India, a caste system full of magical and mystical thinking, all different brands of gods and deities, and, from elephants to humans to snakes to whatever, and reincarnation, big thing. A lot of these ideas were very strong in the culture then. So even though Shakyamuni was present and teaching correctly how to understand the mind and the way life actually works, maybe you hear about the teachings, maybe you even learn how to recite many of the sermons and that kind of thing, but you grew up with these other concepts. So if you become a person maybe hundreds, thousands even, of miles away from where Shakyamuni is teaching, and you're trying to talk about this great teaching that Shakyamuni, this guy, is teaching, so far away, it's going to be very easy for you to, the concepts that you're struggling with that Buddha's or Shakyamuni is talking about is to slide your own cultural, and you're talking to friends who don't know anything about it, so those friends are going to hear familiar stories, familiar ideas, and so you can sway them more easily. So this is how these traditions get started. They're not the actual teaching, but they get pulled into it. It may be well-meaning enough, but then over time, they become serious distractions and fallacies, and they grow and grow for hundreds and centuries, and then, who's to know 500 years after the fact, 1,000 years after the fact, if this is or isn't, right? This is one of the great things that Tendai is credited with, is sifting through all this baloney and getting to the core of what did Shakyamuni actually teach. right? This is a very important step in the development of Buddhism in China. And it's been done before and since. I mean, Nichiren is another one doing the same thing. That's why he's our modern teacher, right? He's identifying these other sects as dragging fallacies into them, even some of them creating the fallacies, because that is going to continue to happen. So I thought, well, here I'm going to put an image up on the screen, and I want you to see what I've got so far. It's the table of contents, but this is a work in progress, and I have key terms in there. And what I want to do is offer a very quick, kind of like a dictionary, or synonyms of what this term means, like karma, and then reference to other areas. And I don't want to get into a whole history. You know how most books about terminology and stuff, they tell you about this story from this sutra. Nichiren does that for us. I want this to just be a modern, get your head around what this term means, with not so much history and all these terms and personages and blah, blah, blah. I just want to talk in terms you and I can understand. And so I want to make this a really helpful, usable Buddhism Reference book. So that if you don't remember, what does he mean when he says moment to moment? You can go look up moment to moment. There it is, very quickly, a paragraph or two, if that, or even just the beginning, 2 or 3 synonyms, and you go, oh, yeah, I get it now. And go back to your study, back to your practice. Not a whole bunch of stuff to read to go, this guy and that guy and the girl did this and the blah, blah, blah. The Expedient Means has done an excellent job of doing that. Shakyamuni, all the Bodhisattvas, Nichiren. You don't need any more of that. I don't think so. So here's the table of contents. And I want you to go through and see each of these terms. Oh, this is weird. Turn your finger the other. There you go. Anyway, you see all these terms. This is what I have so far, right? And I think I've got a pretty good start on this. It's actually, as I delve into this reference book, is what I'm calling it now, it's helping me catch my own little slips of rhetoric, because it's really easy to do that. So I want you to look at this, maybe take an image of it if you can, and identify for me what I'm missing. This could get really crazy, right? We could go endlessly, and I could have hundreds and hundreds of words to investigate and so forth. I don't want to create something that's not useful. Like, I don't want to start identifying, for instance, each of the personages, right? Or each of the bodhisattvas. There's plenty of that. Nichiren talks about it. Shakyamuni talks about it. We have so much information on that. What I want to concentrate on is the language that you and I use when we encounter other people who are curious, who want to know more, right? I mean, if you first asked a friend about Buddhism and he came at you with Devadatta and the story of the physician and the 3 sons, and wouldn't your eyes just glaze over? This book isn't about that. This book, I want it to be anyway, a book about when you first come into Buddhism, what the heck is karma? What the heck is chanting? Right? You want these basic things to be graspable, not, fanciful, because then Buddhism starts to look mystical and magical again. No, this is a very down-to-earth practice. So we need to talk about it like it's a very down-to-earth practice. And we need the words in order to do that, to communicate that. We don't talk in Shakespearean language today, right? If you want to help somebody quickly, I mean, that's the point of all of this, isn't it? Shakyamuni, Siddhartha Gautama, before he became enlightened, wanted a simple method, universal, meaning anybody could do it and instantly realize benefit, realize results. So I want this reference book to be a tool, because there are a lot of terms, but once we get a handful of terms that are close to the essentials of what we want to know when we start to practice, and we get those terms under our belt, like a really solid, I really get what this means now, well, doesn't that make it easier for us to communicate? To tell somebody about? With confidence, I mean. Here's a word I know, it's that. And then they look at you and go, well, what's that? And then you get frustrated because, well, I don't really freaking know, but I've been saying it for, No, you should be confident all the time. So I think this is an important book for me to hunker down and write. And I've been working on it now for a little while, and I'm developing it. But I'm concerned because as I go through the book and I start to work on these definitions, I think, oh yeah, that's a really important term too. But I don't want to get carried away and start defining Dairokuten no Mao and the king of the sixth heaven and blah, 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 blah. That's Buddhist literature. And that's great. That's expedient means. That's storytelling. That rounds out our practice and gives us clues how we in our lives, our daily lives, can get these insights. That's all well and good, but that's not what I want to create with this book. You understand, right? I just want, how do we talk like normal adults in a modern world about these key components of the practice? And it's really easy to go down the rabbit hole, right? Because when you start talking about the 3,000 realms in a single thought moment of life, whoo! Yeah, there's a lot there. But I'm trying to, because that's a key component, I have to have it in this book. But I want to simplify, I want to be really direct. If you want to understand this, look at these other terms like engine of life, karma, formations, energy. They're repeated throughout all of these discussions. They're all tied together. And that's kind of exciting about this book, is that once you go through enough terms, you start to see how they all interrelate. It's like looking at a Rubik's Cube. You can say, well, a Rubik's Cube is blue. And you wouldn't be wrong. But it's not only blue. It also has yellow and red, and depending on how you look at the Rubik's Cube, right? It's always the Rubik's Cube, but depending on your perspective and how you analyze it, it's a cube, it's many cubes, it's, right? So, if this reference manual can do a little of that, I think that's very satisfying to our brain and our human mind, that things start to be cohesive, make sense. Woo, that's great, yeah? So that's what I want to do. I need your help, whether you email me or use the comments section. Let me know, maybe there's a term that you remember you struggled with when you started practicing and nobody gave you a good answer. Throw it at me. And if I think it's one of those terms that really deserves a good, clear explanation, then I'll work my best to provide that and add it to this book, okay? So that's all for today. I really, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, just encourage you to practice, encourage you to think about this, maybe chant before you start thinking about it, and open that Buddha mind of yours. And some terms will just, oh, yeah, why doesn't he talk about this? I never hear anything about this. Or what I've heard has been so much gobbledygook, I still don't get it. That's the kind of thing I want to put in this reference book, so we can have it on the shelf like a dictionary. And when we're stuck and we can't quite get it, or you hear a podcast or watch a video and you think, what the hell did he just say? What was that again? I thought I understood that, but the way he just talked about it sounded different. Let me go get that reference. Oh, I see. Right? It should be that simple. So yet another tool. Again, that's my mission in life, to make your practice easier and more confident, right? So that's what we're all about. That's what the Sangha's about. So again, I have to thank you for participating, listening. Please think about this and offer me your thoughts. And in the meantime, thank you again for your support by liking and subscribing. If you can purchase materials, ebooks or print books, don't forget about the free podcast and all the free material. A lot of what I'm going to put in this book already exists in some form on threefoldlotus.com, right? That whole page of quick answers to things. But just like you guys, my practice has evolved over 40 years, and my rhetoric has slowly honed in on concepts, right? I'm becoming better and better at understanding all of this myself. So I want to share those insights cohesively, and I think this book will even help me do that even better, because it's forcing me, right, to analyze my words and how I communicate. So I'm excited. I don't know if you could tell. But help me put this together, make yet another tool to help us build our confidence, resolve. And I look forward to hearing from you. Take care of your health. Keep your practice strong. That's what it's all about. And I'll see you very soon with another. All right? And that's it. Bye for now.